Mouse. PI for Hire is one of those games that looks simple on the surface, but the more you play, the more you realize there's a lot going on under the hood. The 1930s cartoon style is deceptive. This game is brutal when you don't know what you're doing. It features a dash, double jump, wall run, slide, tailspin, and for a long time, I barely used half of it. I stayed in basic mode, thinking I was doing fine. I wasn't. After taking quite a beating from the game, I've put together 10 advanced tips that actually make a difference. The ones nobody tells you at the start, but you'll wish you knew since the first case. I'm Matthew, and the video starts now. If there's one thing that will completely change your experience, it's how you handle schematics. These blueprints are hidden throughout the levels, often off the beaten path, and they are the currency you take to Tammy Tumbler's workshop in the hub to upgrade the Bang system. The problem is that many people walk right past them because they aren't explicitly marked. You have to actively look for them. Then, when they hit the larger hordes later on, they feel the sting of having left money on the table. The reason this matters so much is simple. The first upgrade for each weapon unlocks its alternate fire mode, the alt fire. And that's when the game reaches a new level. The James gun, for example, starts pouring out an absurd volume of bullets at once when you use the alt fire, which is exactly what you need when a horde is surrounding you. The boomstick charges and releases a concentrated blast. The Kiss Kiss fires heavy explosive rounds that burn everything in the impact radius. Without Tier 1, you're playing with only half of each weapon's potential. Even the game's official quick tips say it bluntly: upgrade as early as possible, specifically because of the alt fire. It's no coincidence. The developers know the Bang system is the heart of combat progression, and they wanted you to go after it from the beginning. Waiting to hunt for blueprints in the final levels is a mistake that will cost you dearly in the game's toughest situations. The critical point here is that several of these blueprints are missable, meaning if you finish the level without grabbing them, you might not be able to go back. It's worth pausing your campaign progress to spend some time exploring every corner of the maps more carefully. It's not every day an FPS truly rewards those who wander off the main path, but Mouse, PI for Hire makes a point of it. Every schematic you find is one step closer to unlocking alt fire for all weapons and pushing everything toward Tier 3. There's a mechanic that seems simple at first glance, but can cost you dearly if you don't respect it. Tail picking, the lock-picking minigame using Mouse's tail. It looks like just another lock-picking minigame we've seen in 1,000 games, but the difference here is that it has real permanent consequences if you mess up the wrong way. The trouble starts when the minigame jams. When this happens to a safe or a specific door, there's no way to undo it on the spot. The lock can remain permanently jammed for that session. And what could be on the other side of that door? A schematic, a collectible you needed. Content that, depending on the level, you simply won't have another chance to get if you move forward without thinking. The solution is less glamorous than it sounds, but it works. As soon as a jam occurs, restart from the last checkpoint immediately. Don't try to force it. Don't try to keep going, hoping something will change. A quick reload puts you back before the error and gives you a fresh, clean attempt at the minigame. If you have the habit of using manual saves at strategic points before attempting to open suspicious safes or doors, even better, because you control exactly where you'll restart. What makes this a true advanced tip is that it requires a shift in mindset. Instead of treating every lock as a quick obstacle, you start treating it as a high-stakes decision. Before any tail picking, ask yourself, is it worth saving here before I try? The answer is almost always yes. Missable schematics are reason enough not to let chance decide whether you'll have access to your next weapon upgrade or not. If you're still playing glued to the ground, we need to have a serious talk. Vertical movement in this game isn't just an aesthetic detail of the animated noir style, it's a real survival tool. The double jump and wall run exist for a very specific reason, and the sooner you internalize this, the easier the game becomes. The logic behind verticality is straightforward. Most enemies in Mouse were designed for horizontal combat. When you go up, especially using the wall run to stay mobile at height, their AI starts to struggle. The enemies that throw pies, who are some of the most annoying in the game, lose accuracy drastically when the target is at an elevated position and in constant motion. Instead of taking a pie to the face, you'll see them firing completely off target while you reposition through the environment. This changes even more when you enter Super Sleuth mode. With double jump and wall run combined, you can maintain pressure on multiple enemies while staying practically out of the effective range of most projectiles. Combat stops being a damage trading duel and becomes almost a dance where you control the rhythm, choosing when to drop down for the finish and when to go up to recover. What turns this into a true advanced tip is that it requires conscious practice. It's not enough to know the double jump exists. You need to build the reflex to never stay stationary on the ground for more than a second when walls and platforms are available. Start forcing this movement style even in easy areas, because when the larger hordes appear, this reflex will be the difference between dominating the scene or getting frustrated trying to survive at the enemy's level. I'll be honest with you, if you're playing on Detective, the default difficulty, you're essentially playing a different, weaker game. The amount of health and ammo pickups scattered on the ground at this difficulty is so generous that combat loses all tension. You'll never truly feel what the game has to offer if you never have to think before you shoot. Super Sleuth changes the conversation completely. Resources become scarce enough that every combat decision carries weight. You start thinking about positioning before entering a room, actively switching weapons depending on what's in front of you, and respecting enemies instead of just rushing in and blasting everything. Most importantly, the game is still fair at this difficulty. It's not pointlessly punitive, it's just tense in the right way. Regarding the cheese slices that function as healing, the rule that makes the most difference is simple. Hold on to them until you're below 20 HP. Using healing preventatively or out of anxiety is a bad habit that Detective allows, but Super Sleuth punishes. Instead, prioritize picking up armor and the heal D items when they appear on the ground during combat, as they heal you without consuming inventory resources and shift the momentum of the fight in your favor. What Super Sleuth actually does is teach you how to play the game for real. You'll start to realize when it's worth using alt fire, when to save ammo, and when to use verticality to reposition, rather than soaking up damage. All the other advanced tips for mouse, PI for hire, make much more sense when you're on a difficulty that actually demands you apply them. So if you want to get the most out of the game, start on Super Sleuth right away and don't look back. Mouse PI for Hire has a manual save system that I ignored right up until the moment I should have used it and didn't. The game gives you 50 save slots, which is incredibly generous for an FPS. And that's not by accident. The developers knew exactly what they were doing when they put that high number there. The question is, will you use this tool intelligently or treat the game as if it has infinite autosaves? The detail that makes this critical is that Mouse PI for Hire has no New Game Plus and no mission replay. Once you pass a point of no return, it's gone for good. Before any boss, before any tail-picking safe, before entering missions with a point of no return structure like Jack Squat, manual saving isn't optional. It's part of the strategy. A lost schematic or a missable clue can't be fixed later. There's no elegant second chance, only the weight of knowing that content is locked out of that save file. The typewriter is your best friend in this game and needs to become an automatic reflex. Every time you see 1, stop, save. It doesn't matter if you just saved a moment ago or if you think the next section will be easy. The time you save by skipping a save point will never compensate for the cost of losing an important collectible or having to repeat an entire segment due to a poorly timed death. The habit of saving obsessively seems like overkill until the day it truly saves you. And in Mouse PI for Hire, that day will come sooner than you expect. With 50 slots available, there's no excuse for being careless. Create a routine, reach a new area, save, saw a suspicious door to open, save, about to enter a hallway that looks like a boss arena, save. This small discipline is what separates those who finish the game with everything collected from those who finish with regrets. One of the things Mouse PI for Hire does better than most modern FPS titles is turning the environment into a weapon just as valid as anything in your inventory. The game is set in a 1950s cartoon world, and the developers took this premise seriously from a mechanical standpoint. Explosive, fire, corrosive, and ice barrels, anvils, pianos, and girders hanging from the ceiling aren't just thematic decor. They are combat tools the game expects you to use actively. The most satisfying and efficient combo you'll find early on is the snow barrel and kick. You kick the barrel toward an enemy, they freeze, and then it only takes a single shot to completely shatter them. In normal situations, that same enemy would soak up several rounds, so Besides being visually satisfying in the most cartoon way possible, it's also one of the most economical ammo trades you can make. And when there's a group together, it gets even better. Group luring is where cartoon physics really shine. Baiting a cluster of enemies under a hanging piano or a girder and dropping the object on all of them at once is exactly the kind of play the game was built to reward. It's not cheesing, it's the system working as intended. The game's own trophies confirm this. Boomtown and Spike D 16 tons exist specifically to track and celebrate these environmental kills. What elevates this to an advanced tip is the shift in perspective it requires. Most people enter a room thinking about which gun they'll use. Those who truly master mouse, PI for hire, enter every room by reading the environment first, identifying where the interactive objects are, and then deciding how to position the enemies relative to them before initiating combat. It's a strategic layer the game doesn't teach you directly, but it rewards you generously with saved ammo, clean kills, and unlocked trophies. The kick is one of the most underrated mechanics in the game, and most players only use it occasionally, almost by accident. What few realize is that the kick has a much broader function than it appears. It stuns enemies, creates distance in high-pressure situations, breaks windows, and creates hiding secrets off the main path, and even works as a mobility tool when combined with the double dash and tail propeller. It's an ability that does 3 jobs at once. The combo you'll want to practice until it becomes a reflex is a kick followed by a double dash and a tail propeller glide. In waves where multiple enemies are closing in at once, this sequence gets you out of the pressure zone far more efficiently than simply backing away while shooting. You create distance, reposition in the air using the glide, and you're already in a new position before the enemies can effectively follow. It's mobility and crowd control in a single movement flow. Against teleporting snipers and high HP brutes, the kick completely changes the dynamic of the confrontation. A sniper that just teleported near you can be stunned before they reposition, giving you the exact window needed to perform a quick weapon swap and deliver a burst of damage at the right time. Against brutes, the kick interrupts charged attacks and creates that fraction of a second you need to switch to a heavier weapon without taking unnecessary damage. The detail about kick stamina is what turns this into a real strategic decision. You don't have infinite kicks, so blind spanning will leave you without the tool at the worst possible time. The real meta is using the kick surgically to open secret passages while exploring, to create space when waves get tight, and as a setup for burst damage in the toughest fights. When you stop treating the kick as a panic button and start treating it as part of your core combat kit, the whole game flows differently. Mouse PI for hire has an interesting design detail. The ammo that appears most frequently in each stage isn't random. The game is giving you a silent hint about which weapons you should be prioritizing in that specific segment. If you're seeing a lot of a specific ammo type scattered around, it's because the enemies ahead were designed with that weapon in mind. Learning to read these signs completely changes how you approach each new area. Matching enemies with weapons is one of the most direct and rewarding systems in the game once you start paying attention to it. Shrews die in a single shot, so any weapon works, and saving heavy ammo here makes total sense. Crocodiles and dogs have higher HP and resistance that requires heavy impact, and the loose cannon is the right answer for those encounters. Meanwhile, snipers have shields, and the Devarnisher ignores that protection entirely, making it the obvious choice against that specific enemy type. The James gun deserves special attention because it's devastating against groups but has a real cost that needs to be respected. Holding the trigger unnecessarily is the most common mistake for first-time users, and the ammo will vanish at a speed that will catch you off guard at the worst possible moment. The correct use is in controlled bursts against multiple bunched-up enemies, not as a primary weapon for everything that moves. Used with discipline, it's the best crowd control tool in the game. Used with anxiety, it leaves you stranded halfway through a fight. What makes this tip truly advanced is that it requires you to develop 2 habits at once: reading the environment before entering combat and active weapon swapping during combat. Most players pick a favorite gun and try to solve everything with it. In Mouse, PI for hire, that approach carries a progressive cost that increases as enemies become more varied and resistant. 20 wins. That's the number that separates those who just dabbled in baseball cards from those who actually unlocked the Demosifier, one of the most powerful corporate ray guns, mouse. PI. For hire has to offer. But going in without preparation is literally throwing money away, as each match costs 50 coins and the game won't take pity on you if you enter with a weak deck. Before playing a single match, build your deck properly. Ban the bad cards first, no exceptions. Then focus on 2 specific attributes: high strength to ensure home runs, your primary source of points, and high fielding to block the opponent's plays before they cost you the match. With this balance in your deck, the minigame stops being a matter of luck and becomes a matter of execution. Timing also matters a lot. Don't try to tackle baseball cards at the start of the game when coins are still scarce and your deck is incomplete. Save it for when the campaign is well underway, the good cards have been collected, and you've accumulated enough coins to handle occasional losses without feeling the impact. Entering unprepared too early is the reason so many people quit the minigame thinking it's not worth the effort. And for those who want to go beyond 20 wins and chase the 100% completion, 30 wins unlock a trophy along with the weapon. It's a long session commitment, but with a sharp deck and saved coins, it's entirely viable. Baseball cards isn't a distraction. It's content with a real reward, and the game generously compensates those who take it seriously. Glugging from the deep is the point of no return that no one warns you about clearly enough. After this mission, the hub office becomes locked and everything available inside disappears from your options. No new game plus, no mission replay. What's left behind is gone for good. And what exactly gets left behind if you ignore the side jobs before that moment? Baseball cards for your deck, schematics to fuel your weapon upgrades, and money to buy comics and newspapers in the shop. Each of these rewards connects directly to another layer of the game, and losing any of them creates a hole in your progress that cannot be fixed within the same save file. The game gives you time to do all of this before the point of no return. The problem isn't a lack of opportunity, it's the pacing of the main campaign which pulls you forward and makes the temptation to continue the story stronger than the urge to return to the hub. Resisting that temptation is a small habit with big consequences. It's the difference between reaching the end with everything unlocked or finishing the game with missing items and not knowing exactly where you lost them. So set a simple rule for yourself. Before any mission that feels like a narrative turning point, go back to the hub and sweep everything available. Side jobs are quick, the rewards are permanent, and 100% completion in a single run is totally possible as long as you don't let the office close with unfinished business.